Medicare Modernization Act was signed by President Bush in 2003, and it affected some of the aspects that are related to ANDA with the paragraph 4 certifications. The implications of the Medicare Modernization Act was that the 30-month stay period, which was there earlier, was impacted by this act. The act allows only one 30-month stay period per product, and it is applicable to patents submitted to FDA on or after August 18, 2003. No effect of subsequent or later listing of the patents on the stay period can be availed. It also defined the 180-day exclusivity in terms of patent-wise versus product-wise, how the exclusivity can be triggered, the mechanism for sharing of the exclusivity, and the mechanism for forfeiture of the exclusivity. The old provision for the 180-day exclusivity was for products for which the first Para 4 certification was filed prior to December 8, 2003, and for which exclusivity had not been triggered by this date. Exclusivity is awarded against a particular patent, which means there is a patent by patent exclusivity. However, as per the MMA provisions for products for which the first Para 4 certification was filed on or after December 8, 2003, the exclusivity is awarded with respect to a drug product, which means if there are number of patents for a drug product, it will be eligible for only one exclusivity, and that is for the drug product. There will not be patent by patent exclusivity. Then the aspects related to triggering of the exclusivity, how the exclusivity will be triggered or initiated. Exclusivity is product dependent, and it is given to the first applicant to submit an ANDA with a Para 4 certification to any listed patent. A later applicant who is first to file a Para 4 certification to a different or later listed patent will not be eligible for the exclusivity. There are two ways to qualify as a first to file applicant. Be the first applicant to submit a substantially complete ANDA for a drug product containing Para 4 certification against any Orange Book patent, or be the first applicant to amend its ANDA to contain a paragraph 4 certification. The exclusivity is triggered by the first commercial marketing of the drug, or the date of decision of court in holding the patent valid, holding the subject patent invalid or not infringed, whichever is earlier. There is now a mechanism for shared exclusivity of 180 days. The first applicant to submit a substantially complete ANDA with a Para 4 certification will be eligible to receive 180 days of marketing exclusivity. The Act specifies that the submission is measured as of the day, not the time of the day the ANDA is filed. Which means if on 30th December, there are 4 applicants who file paragraph 4 certification ANDA, all the 4 will be considered as first to file. We will not take into consideration the time at which the filing was carried out. This change may result in shared exclusivity in case of multiple first applicants. Then the provisions for the forfeiture of 180 days exclusivity means when would be the exclusivity rights forfeited or taken away by the US FDA from the ANDA company. The first reason for forfeiture could be failure to market or withdrawal of the ANDA either voluntarily or by the US FDA. Failure to obtain tentative approval within 30 months. Agreement with another ANDA applicant, NDA holder or patent holder, and expiration of all the patents. Failure to market by later of the two possible dates. First possible date earlier of the two dates, 75 days after ANDA approval and 30 months after ANDA submission. Failure to market by later of two possible dates. Second possible date, 75 days after final court decision, settlement or consent order, and the patent is withdrawn. Now we come to another topic which is related to ANDAs, but has slightly different implications. And the topic is ANDA with suitability petition. Sometimes there are some applications which are not exactly applicable for filing as ANDA, but the differences from the ANDA or the shortcomings are very small, and they can be filed by a procedure called as ANDA with suitability petition. The other option would be to file them as 505(b)(2) application. But that would be a lengthier route because you require to conduct clinical trials in the case of 505(b)(2). Hence, there is another option available for the companies to go with ANDA with suitability petition. So in this case of ANDA with suitability petition, the company seeks permission to submit an ANDA for a product that differs from the RLD, either in the dosage form, route of administration, strength, or active ingredients in combination products. Similar changes are handled through hybrid ANDAs as well, as I mentioned in the last slide. ANDA can contain only those differences that do not need clinical evidence for efficacy and safety. It turns out that most changes need clinical studies. So there are very few approved ANDA with suitability petitions. The types of changes that are handled through the suitability petition include changes in the dosage form. For example, changing from a liquid injection to a concentrated solution, changing from liquid injection to a dry powder injection or lyophilized product or vice versa, change from a bulk pack to a single dose injectable. Approvals normally are allowed for changing dosage forms, not involving change in the route of administration. For example, topicals like cream, ointments, lotions, solutions are considered interchangeable. However, suitability petition for nitroglycerin patch was rejected as the construction of the patch controlled the release, whereas in the listed patch, the delivery was controlled only by the skin. Tablet, capsules, oral syrups, powders, and liquids were originally treated as largely interchangeable. However, a change for ibuprofen from tablet to a liquid syrup was not allowed, as ibuprofen is not approved for use in children, and any labeling would be insufficient to deter its administration to the children. Similarly, changes to sustained release dosage form with concomitant reduction in dose frequency are resisted. Changing the route of administration in addition to dosage form are normally rejected. A proposed vaginal sponge delivery for metronidazole was rejected as it was thought to be far away from the approved oral and intravenous dosage forms. Then comes the changes in the strength, changing the strength within the established clinical guidelines, or combining two doses or half strengths for children. Only superficial changes are allowed, and any further deviation leads to a rejection. For example, cyclobenzaprine hydrochloride tablets, 10 milligram thrice a day and 50 milligram twice a day will require different safety studies. Similarly, an increase in strength from 2.5 to 5 milligram per ml of flufenazine hydrochloride was denied, as it was suggested that the higher strength may lead to muscle irritation and change pharmacokinetics. However, there have been certain controversial decisions. For example, a change from 10 milligram per ml to 20 milligram per ml was allowed for nalbuphine hydrochloride injection, suggesting that per se there is no bar on increase in the concentration of the injectables. Similarly, 2% miconazole nitrate cream was allowed to be changed to 4% cream despite a change in therapeutic protocol from a 3-day regimen to a 24 hours regimen. Now coming to the combination. So typically FDA allows a petition if one active ingredient is substituted for another ingredient in the same pharmacological class in an equivalent dose. Thus, FDA approved changeover from pseudoephedrine sulfate to phenylpropanolamine hydrochloride. Other interchangeable drugs are aspirin and acetaminophen, chlorpheniramine maleate, and brompheniramine maleate. However, these petitions are given a hard look before approval. A switch from aspirin and acetaminophen to ibuprofen in combination with oxycodone bititrate was disallowed because the FDA insisted on clinical testing of fixed dose combination of NSAIDs in combination with narcotic analgesics. Other modifications are swapping of active ingredient is permitted only for combination drugs and not for drugs with single active ingredient. Two listed drugs cannot be joined in a combination. New active cannot be added to a listed combination, nor can an element of a listed combination simply removed. Some subjects simply not considered appropriate for ANDA with suitability petition are changes in indication, and they are summarily rejected. Only truly small variations with highly predictable consequences appear to be consistently allowed by the US FDA. So these are the aspects related to ANDA with suitability petition. The procedure for filing ANDA with the suitability petition is given in this slide. The company will file a petition which will go into a public docket, and it will then be requested for public inputs. Thereafter, FDA, Office of Generic Drugs, will review the documents and the decision will be published. If the petition is approved, the ANDA may be filed. Now we come to a slightly different aspect, which is very recent in nature, called as GDUFA. GDUFA stands for Generic Drug User Fee Amendment Act. And this was enacted by the US government on 9th July 2012 under the FDA Safety and Innovation Act to accelerate the access of safe and effective generic drugs to the public and reduce the overall cost to the industry. Until October 2012, the law only required user fee for firms submitting new drug applications. As for October 1, 2012, under GDUFA, all firms that manufacture human generic drug products and active ingredients for human generic drug products that are distributed in US commerce are subject to FDA users fee. In other words, it means that the generic companies now have to fill a fees for filing their ANDA. The reauthorization of the GDUFA takes place every 5 years, and GDUFA gets enacted by the Congress, which may lead to changes in user fees and other amendments in this law. This is called as reauthorization of the GDUFA. Since its inception on October 1, 2017, the first GDUFA was active for 5 years, from 2012 to 2017, called as GDUFA 1. The President of USA signed reauthorization on August 18, 2017, and hence second GDUFA has been in place from 2018 to 2022, which is termed as GDUFA 2. The amended user fee under GDUFA 2 takes effect on October 1, 2018. So GDUFA enables FDA to assess industry user fees to bring greater predictability and timeliness to the review of the generic drug applications. So the types of GDUFA fees which are applicable include drug master file fee. DMF fee is applicable when a DMF is referenced by a letter of authorization for the first time. The second one is ANDA fees. The fees is applicable for applications which are submitted to the agency. The next one is the API facility, and this is applicable if a facility has one or more APIs which are part of the generic product that has been approved. Then the next one is finished dosage form facility. The fees is applicable if a facility produces one or more finished dosage forms which are part of a generic drug product that has been approved. And then there is a GDUFA program fee. It is an annual fee which is applicable to all the manufacturers of the generic products. So these are the fee guidelines as per the GDUFA 2, and these are the values of the fees that need to be submitted. Just to give you an example for ANDA, the fees is $178,799 US, which is equivalent to 1.25 crores of the Indian rupees. So these are introduced in GDUFA 2 for large size, medium size, and small size companies. And these are the values of the program fees, which has a 3-tiered annual program fee. The fee that is charged is based on the number of approved ANDA that a company holds with the FDA. So this is the tier for large companies, medium companies, and small companies. And these are the number of approved ANDAs, and these are the fee structures. So how GDUFA 2 differs from GDUFA 1 in terms of the fee structure is, that you can see this is the target percentage in GDUFA 1, and this is the target structure in GDUFA 2. And these are the changes in the total target revenue between GDUFA 1 and GDUFA 2. So these are some of the online resources related to GDUFA which you can access. So with this, we come to an end of our discussion on the ANDA. And with this, we also finish our coursework of the regulatory affairs related course. So if you have any questions for the entire coursework, you can post it in the WhatsApp group, and we will handle it through the platform that we have created for this purpose. Thank you very much.